Well, good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us today, the intersection of faith and culture. This is the Meeting House on Faith Radio, and it is great to welcome to the program the president of Scripture Union USA. Her name is Gail Martin. She's been involved in a variety of different types of ministry leadership. She's the author or the co-author of a book called The Desert is Alive, Streams of Living Water from Muscat to Marrakesh. In fact, she was the Associate U.S. Director for Arab World Ministries, also worked at American Bible Society, and she is, as I mentioned, she is the president of Scripture Union USA, and there is a new resource for children that has been developed. It's called TIMELANDERS. It's an activity magazine based on the scriptures, oriented toward children ages 8 through 11. Gail Martin joining us today here in the Meeting House on Faith Radio. Gail, welcome aboard. Thanks for all that you and the ministry of Scripture Union do, and we're glad that you're spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm really happy to be able to join you and your audience, and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, before we start talking about TIMELANDERS, this is very exciting, the opportunities to reach children with the gospel of Christ. People may be familiar to a certain extent with Scripture Union. Maybe they're not. So I want to give you the opportunity here on the front end to familiarize those that maybe are not familiar with Scripture Union, and maybe refresh for those that may have heard of you or maybe even engaged with you as far as what you're seeing God do with this ministry.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, Scripture Union is actually one of the oldest and most trusted children's ministry organizations around the world. They began in 1867 in England and Wales, and it began really with a vision to teach children the story of Scripture in innovative and creative ways. One of the hallmarks of the ministry was the storytelling and Bible engagement notes that were given out on beaches along the coast there in Europe. And there are now 120 Scripture Unions that are around the world active doing ministry, and Scripture Union USA is one of those. We've been here since 1959, and we also, our goal is to help people meet God in His Word, people of all ages. So we have children's resources and ministry, as well as families and adults.
Well, to give our listeners an idea about really the need for resources for children and the opportunity that is there for you and Scripture Union with this TIMELANDERS resource, tell us just a bit, when we look at Bible literacy, that's a huge emphasis right now. And as you look at that major subset of children's Bible literacy, underscore, if you would, based on the statistics that you've seen and tracked, what are you seeing, and what are the opportunities in that area of Bible literacy for kids?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's interesting because recently we learned that 7 out of 10 kids are 8th and 4th grade are reading below their level, below their grade level. And at the same time, 14 million people are engaging Scripture less since the pandemic around the country here in the U.S. And so that trickles down, of course, to children. And interestingly, when I first came on, I was asked by a church, an urban church, if we had any written material we could put in their Easter baskets. And we did have a comic that we had done for Easter that I gifted to them. And they were sharing with me just how important it is for printed resources to be in the homes, just to give that nod and that impetus toward reading. And so there's the reading component that is a big need around the country, as well as the Bible literacy. A lot of times, children just hear dribs and drabs, a scripture verse, taken with or without context. And one of the hallmarks, I think, of Scripture Union has been to try to tell the whole narrative of Scripture from Genesis to Revelation, to give an idea of this great love story that God has intended for us.
Gail Martin joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. She is the president of Scripture Union USA, part of a whole worldwide assortment of Scripture unions. And you publish a quarterly magazine for children called TIMELANDERS.
Yes, we do.
Tell
These
us
are some of my Timelander friends behind me for any of you who might be watching this on video.
There you go. And these are your two main characters?
There are a number of characters. This is Lev and Bo, the original ones. We've also got, and he's not in the screen, but we've got a new character called Ozzy, who is kind of into archaeology from Australia. And what these characters do is they take the children on a kind of an action adventure through Scripture. There's 13 little journeys they take per quarter, and there'll be 12 total magazines in the 3-year experience from age 8 to age 11 or thereabouts, right? That's not a hard and fast thing. But one of the interesting things I discovered when I came on board is I kept meeting people who told me, oh, I've been a Bible guide reader, because we do produce a daily reading guide for adults for 50 years. I started at age 8.
Wow.
And I thought that was interesting the first time I heard it. I thought it was significant the 10th time I heard it. And I was like, what is happening with this age 8? And it does seem to be that if you develop a Bible reading habit at age 8, you will have a high likelihood of continuing. I have people in their 70s and 80s who have told me that story. So we really wanted to do something to address the literacy, the need for biblical understanding, and also to get kids in that habit. And this magazine is an adventure magazine. It's multi sensory. You can go online and see things through video, augmented reality, hand things you do with your hands to make models. And you probably know, Bob, that if you write or read something physically, it sticks with you a little longer than some things that are happening on the screen.
So the uniqueness, obviously, you use some of these abilities to tie the video to the printed page, if you will, in the magazine. Now, these two characters, you've got, as you mentioned, several main characters. You've got Lev and Bo. Now, am I correct in saying, let me make sure that I'm giving correct information, but apparently they have some animal friends that are the key to the keys to time travel. Is that,
yes, they do.
The animals have some sort of special ability to get the characters into these Bible lands.
That's right. Yeah, Roots has a special sort of opener in his paw, and Hyla is able to help along the way too. And
that's fun.
So that's a frog and a squirrel, and they're very popular with the children that are reading it. They really love these animal adventures as well, and they tell jokes. There's a section in the magazine for jokes from Roots and little fun facts. So they really are learning from these animals as well.
So when these characters actually visit these various biblical locations and experience what's taking place there, what are some of the things that they learn generally? I know they kind of become part of some of these Bible settings and Bible stories. So how do they interact there?
So they'll be able to read the narrative through Scripture. Each day there's a passage that's meant to be read, and that gives them the context. But we also have little sidebars that give you the cultural insights, because sometimes you need to know that, right? Why is this significant? And some history, Bible background, historical facts. And then, like if you're reading about the temple, you can go online and there's a model for how to build a temple. So you're really engaging with it in a hands-on way as well. So they meet people who share. They meet Bible characters along the way. So there's a whole series of Bible characters that come alive through the adventure.
Well, you are listening to Meeting House here on Faith Radio. Gail Martin is joining us today, and she is the president of Scripture Union USA, and Scripture Union publishes this magazine. It is called TIMELANDERS, and it is released quarterly. The issues are released every 3 months or so, and so it's oriented toward children 8 to 11. Now, that is actually something that's very important. You touched on it earlier with respect to age 8 and being really one of those key age groups here. So what is it about the children in that age range that perhaps makes them very open and susceptible to Bible knowledge?
I think, by 8, you're able to read a little bit more on your own. So you're able to comprehend things that you read. You're still wanting to do fun crafts. You're still wanting to engage in jokes and puzzles and activities that are part of that. And I think age 8 really has a sense of wonder to that age group. And so the openness is already built in from God, to experience the wonder of his creation and just the story and the narrative of what he's done to show them just how much he loves them.
And obviously, kids can engage with this magazine. They can do this not only by themselves, I assume, but also with their families. There's a role for parents here. There's even a role for churches in helping children to discover what is published here in the TIMELANDERS magazine. So how can families and churches really help children to experience this?
Yeah, sure. At the outset, we knew that the family was important to this engagement. Of course, a child can do it on their own without someone present, but even better if there's kind of what we call a travel guide who can come alongside and help guide them through and add in their own understanding. We have built right into the magazine a travel guide component where you can sort of be a faith guide to the child and some instruction on how to come alongside and do that. And then for churches, we're just now piloting with one church in New York City, using it as an after-school curriculum. So they are using TIMELANDERS in their program. So they'll do homework help and then also some time with the magazine so that they can, also be reading, writing, engaging, and telling the story. So churches can use it alongside, their Sunday school. They could even use it as a Sunday school curriculum, similarly to how this church is piloting it.
And for those that may be concerned, parents especially might be concerned, well, my child spends a lot of time on screens. How can I get my child interested in doing something that is quote unquote in print? After all, you've got so much content now that's available online. So tell me a bit about the process that you guys went through as far as deciding, okay, we're going to make this a print magazine, but we're also going to have these ways for children to experience some online content. So how did that all manifest itself?
We knew it wouldn't be either or. We wanted something in print for some of the reasons I touched on earlier, that retention really happens when you're engaging with the printed word and with your hand writing something down. That's why I think journaling has been so effective for so many people. But we also know that it's a digital age and children expect that and want that. So we have some augmented reality built in. We have, you can take your phone and put the characters in your space. And we also have a number of animations that bring the scripture to life for each story. So and then of course there's a website where you can go get all these hands-on activities and do some things online. Ultimately, Bob, I think we would like to turn this into a digital magazine for those who just won't touch the print. But I do think it's best as a hybrid. And I think a lot of adults that I've met even are saying their kids like to bring their physical Bibles to church still. So it's an interesting time. My son, is like asked for a record player for Christmas, right? So I think there's a lot of retro happening right now.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly, exactly.
That is awesome. So, Gail, as we close, how can people connect with Scripture Union and find out more about Timelanders, especially when you look at, say, church groups in addition to families? Even, and I know that you had shared with me that you're going to be traveling to be part of a homeschool gathering in the not too distant future. So there's obviously an opportunity for homeschool families to use this perhaps as part of their Bible curriculum. Is that accurate to say?
If you spend 3 years with the Timelanders magazine, you will have covered the whole of the Bible. And that's been our goal. And I think it would be amazing if I had children I was homeschooling right now, that I would definitely want to add that into my my daily routine. But you can visit us at scriptureunion.org. And right on the homepage, there's a link to take you to the Timelanders to order it. You can actually order it as a four issue set where you get all four for year one. And then as we go, we've just finished year one, we're into year two. You'll get the whole set each year. Or you can gift a subscription to your grandchild or your child where we would actually mail it quarterly to them. And they would receive mail. I used to get highlights when I was a kid. I really looked forward to that. And I think, that's one of the things that we thought might be special for a child is to get their own mail. So either way that it works for you. And of course, if you're a church that wants to buy it in bulk, we'd love to connect with you and see what we can do.
Well, the website again, scriptureunion.org. Gail Martin, the president of Scripture Union USA. Gail, thank you so much for enlightening our listeners about this resource called Timelanders. Thank you so much. Again, it's a quarterly publication, so the next one is due out when?
June.
All right. So it's coming up. Very good.
We keep busy with these guys behind me, for those of you who can see me.
There you go.
So, Bob, it's been a pleasure.
Gail, thank you so much.